Picture someone sitting down at the end of the month, staring at their bank account, wondering where their paycheck went. They earned a decent salary, they didn't do anything obviously reckless, no gambling, no luxury shopping sprees, no dramatic financial mistakes. And yet somehow the debt keeps sitting there. Month after month, they make payments. Month after month, the balance barely moves. They feel like they're running hard just to stay in the same place. If this sounds familiar, it's because it isn't unusual. It is, for millions of people, the permanent background noise of adult financial life. And the reason most people never escape it has very little to do with income and almost everything to do with how the debt system is actually designed. Here's the belief most people start with. Debt is a temporary problem. You borrow money, you pay it back, and eventually it's gone. Simple math, simple solution. But that belief misses something fundamental about how modern debt actually works. Modern debt isn't designed to be paid off quickly. It's designed to be maintained. And understanding the difference between those two things is the first step towards understanding why so many people spend decades carrying balances they never seem to fully clear. Let's start at the beginning. Most people's first significant debt arrives when they're the least prepared to handle it. Student loans come at 18 before most people have any real experience with money or any framework for understanding what borrowing at scale actually means for the next 10 or 15 years of their financial life. Credit cards arrive shortly after, usually with limits that feel like free money rather than future obligations. Car loans follow, then rent, then eventually a mortgage. By the time most people hit their late 20s or early 30s, they're carrying multiple debts simultaneously, often without ever having made a conscious decision to take on that entire load at once. It accumulated, quietly, one reasonable sounding decision at a time. Now here is where the psychology starts working against people. When you carry debt on multiple accounts, credit cards, car loans, student loans, maybe a personal loan, the minimum payment on each one feels manageable in isolation. $20 here, $50 there, $120 on the student loan. But minimum payments are designed to keep you in debt as long as possible, while extracting the maximum amount of interest. A credit card balance of $3,000 paid at the minimum payment can take over a decade to clear and cost nearly double the original amount by the time it's gone. Most people making minimum payments have never actually calculated what their debt is costing them in total. They see the monthly number, not the lifetime cost. And the companies issuing that debt understand this perfectly. This is where behavior enters the picture, and this is arguably the most important part. That doesn't just cost money, it changes the way you think. When you're carrying significant debt, a portion of every financial decision you make is already claimed before you make it. Your future income is already spent. That creates a constant, low-level feeling of financial pressure, and financial pressure does something specific to decision-making. It makes people focus on the immediate problem rather than the larger pattern. Someone under financial stress is more likely to reach for the credit card to cover an unexpected expense rather than waiting, saving, or finding another solution. The immediate relief of solving today's problem feels more important than the long-term cost of adding to tomorrow's debt. And that pattern, solving immediate problems with borrowed money, is exactly how debt becomes permanent rather than temporary. There's a deeper layer here that most personal finance advice skips entirely. The system built around consumer debt has become one of the most sophisticated behavioral engineering projects in human history. Reward points make spending feel productive. 0% introductory rates make large purchases feel responsible. Buy now, pay later services remove even the visual experience of spending money at all. Every one of these mechanisms is designed to reduce the psychological friction between you and the financial commitment you might otherwise hesitate to make. The goal isn't to help you manage money. The goal is to make parting with future money feel identical to spending money you already have, and it works extraordinarily well. There's one more mechanism most people never see coming: lifestyle creep funded by debt. As incomes grow, spending tends to grow alongside them. A better apartment, a newer car, a nicer version of everything that came before. But when that lifestyle growth is partially funded by credit rather than purely by income, people end up maintaining an expensive lifestyle on borrowed money while telling themselves the debt is temporary and will be cleared soon. Years pass, the debt doesn't clear, the lifestyle doesn't shrink, and the gap between what people earn and what their life actually costs never quite closes because every time income grows, expectations grow with it, and the credit available to support those expectations grows too. So what actually breaks the cycle? Not budgeting apps and not motivational advice about cutting out coffee. The first real shift is understanding total cost rather than monthly cost. Before making any credit-based decision, calculate what the purchase actually cost across the full repayment period, including every dollar of interest. That number is always larger and often dramatically larger than the sticker price, and seeing it clearly changes the decision. The second shift is attacking debt in a specific order rather than paying minimums across everything simultaneously. Focusing every available dollar on the highest interest debt first while maintaining minimums on everything else dramatically reduces the total interest paid over time. The debt doesn't disappear immediately, but the drain slows, and as each balance clears, the money that was going toward that payment can be redirected toward the next one. The momentum is real, and for most people, feeling the momentum for the first time is what finally makes the goal feel achievable rather than abstract. The third shift, and the hardest one, is refusing to borrow to maintain a lifestyle. This means accepting a gap between what credit allows you to have and what your current income can actually support. That gap is uncomfortable. It requires saying no to things that feel normal and reasonable. But it's also the only gap where genuine financial progress actually lives, because every dollar not borrowed is a dollar that doesn't spend the next decade costing you too. Most people never escape debt not because they lack discipline or income, but because they never understood what they were actually dealing with. Debt isn't just a financial tool, it's a system, carefully designed, psychologically sophisticated, and enormously profitable for everyone involved except the person carrying the balance. The moment you stop seeing debt as a normal part of life and start seeing it as what it actually is, a claim on your future that someone else is profiting from, the way you treat every dollar you borrow changes completely. And that change, not the income, not the budget, is where getting out actually begins.